My name's René Enriquez, and you are watching Uncensored. Hey, René, love today's episode, man. Here's another sign MS power is slipping. They broke their own old rule that only a cardinal can take out a cardinal, like Stomper and Spider from Monrovia, taking out Donito. I knew both of those dudes, so when that happened, I was genuinely shocked. After Stomper eliminated Donito, I actually sat down and talked to him about it. Told him straight up, bro, they either got to make you or eliminate you. There's no in between. They're not going to let a camarada just be out here in the main lane with a carnal's death on his belt. And that is so true. Just last week, I did an episode about how the Mexican Mafia was weakening and how multiple gangs and organizations had challenged the Mexican Mafia. And why, in my opinion, it was foreboding. It was a harbinger of what's to come. So I thought about it and missed one important fact. And it's the first blow in the organizational shift, if you will. If the organization started at some point weakening, what would that point be? Ask yourselves, what is that one incident, the one policy, the one thing in your mind that changed things forever, that cannot be undone, that irreparably harmed the organization? Ask yourself that question. Let me know what you think in the comments. What was the one thing that the organization did that let everybody know this isn't the same Mexican Mafia as yesteryear? There are some traditionalists in the organization, and they firmly believe that. I think this was a rushed hit. They could have waited and sat back and said, you know what, Donito's in Patria, and we're just going to wait till somebody gets there, because Cardenales ended up going to that prison eventually, and it could have been handled then by Cardenales. They didn't have to involve outsiders. They did not have to do this. This was a rushed hit. It was effective, and it was completed, but it did so much damage to the organization. Those guys that orchestrated it may think that, oh yeah, we got down, we did that. But the internal damage and the psychological damage to the organization and its core support, the infrastructure, the sureños. Because let's face it, right? Let's face the reality here. The Mexican Mafia is nothing without sureños. Can you see 70 guys or so in California going against the tens of thousands of sureños in the California Department of Corrections? If the EMA did not have their support, the EMA would not exist. In fact, they'd be locked up somewhere being victimized, because sureños are powerful. They just don't realize it yet. Here's a camarada who sent this comment to my social media platforms that really gets it, right? Let's continue with this comment. And honestly, I think that one decision effed the organization up more than people realize. Like, one, it showed everybody EMA didn't actually have any rule that couldn't be broken. Two, it proved cardenales could be touched too, not just camaradas. Three, camaradas started realizing if they bend a rule that deep, none of it meant anything. It was just talk. And that's the truth. The organization revealed itself kind of like at the Wizard of Oz. You know, when they pull back that curtain, Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, they all go to Oz to get Dorothy home. She has to go down the yellow brick road all the way to Oz. And that's what camaradas are doing. They're following the yellow brick road, thinking it's a great and majestic Oz. And this showed that the organization was just fallible men. Men that make mistakes and men that could be eliminated. And this is not an unprecedented thing, because many organizations, like in the past, many gangs and organizations have resisted the Mexican Mafia and have survived. Eliminated carnales even, and have survived, and are back in the fold today, which is another showing of weakness by the organization. And it's true, it shows weakness in the organization. If the organization had mortal enemies like that, it's like, never get off the list. You're on the list forever. You're our enemy. You kill one of ours. We're going to kill 10 of yours. This is very revealing. So that's why Stomper's case is such a big deal to me. It cracked open a bunch of hypocrisy. Cardenales started doing damage control after, because it clearly wasn't sitting right having a camarada walking around free after eliminating a cardenal. And funny enough, that whole thing ended up being what got Stomper too. And that's the truth. Because both of the guys that participated in this got whacked. They didn't die, but they got it. In fact, I believe it was Stomper who kept coming out and saying, no, I'm good. Because they did it at the direct request of Cardenales. This is the terrible thing. These two camaradas are the individuals who went on the mission. They're the ones, Stomper and Spider, Stomper on the left and Spider on the right, are the individuals who eliminated Donito. And they did it at the request of Cardenales. This went throughout the organization. Multiple calls were made. A small group of Cardenales participated in the vote, and they pushed it on camaradas to do, which I think was a fatal flaw, right? Because it shows everything that this individual is saying in the comments. He pointed out some things that were real, right? They're real. And these camaradas did as they were told. And these camaradas did as they were told. It shows the Sureños that the organization views them as disposable. And these dudes are truly, I mean, they did the ultimate, sacrificed their freedom and their lives for the organization. And what happens? Boom, boom, boom. They get nailed too. Stomper keeps coming out. Like, no, I'm not checking in. No, I did what I was told. You guys asked me to do this, and you're whacking me for it. That's exactly what happened. In fact, Alpi was one of the cardinals that went and whacked one of these guys. I don't know which one. If it was Stomper or Spider. I don't know which one Alpi got, but Alpi personally went and took action. He took a shank to the yard and went to work on one of these guys. And that's how the organization feels, right? Most of the organization. Some cardinals don't really care. Like, it gets done, it gets done. And it really was based on territory. And the fact that Donito's wife was an ATF informant. That's the real. His wife, Lisa, was an ATF informant. She participated in meetings, set people up, testified, went into the witness protection program. And here's the kicker. Here's the clincher on Donito, right? Donito was attempting to contact her even after he was aware that she had flipped. I don't know, maybe he was trying to get his money. Maybe he was trying to rekindle what he had. Maybe he realized he was on his last leg. But it became known to the organization that Donito, number one, did not take action to eliminate her, and number two, was still continued to communicate with her. That's like a huge no-no. And then Donito was prolific in encroaching on territories. You're going to hear some instances here where they discuss Sleepy Huerta, who happens to be on trial in Los Angeles, believe it or not, for another case that he caught while he was incarcerated, being pushed out of Wilmas by Donito. And Sleepy not pushing the issue because he's not a real politician, right? Sleepy's a really respectable, quiet, dignified guy. And I've never seen him involved in pushing politics. He was the doer. He's the guy that went and did the job. In fact, we're going to do a profile on him sooner or later, and we'll discuss him. But Donito took over all of Wilmington. All that area was Donito's, and a bunch of other areas. I ran calls on Past the Wire series episodes where he's in other people's areas and actually is encroaching on territory. He was prolific for that. He was known for that. He would do it for as long as he could until he got pushed out by a cardinal, then he'd move on. Oh, hey, brother, I didn't know that was your guy. My guys didn't know, and they taxed him. I apologize. It won't happen again. Or he'll go to another neighborhood, set up a couple camaradas there and say, hey, I've had them here for a while. I don't care if it's your neighborhood. My guys have been here before your guys. And he would make that argument over and over and over, and it's one of the reasons he got nailed, right? Most importantly, his wife was an informant. She was active, cooperating, embedded source in Operation Panic, and it cost Donito his life because Donito was ultimately eliminated. So that you know this is real, you're going to listen to the conversation itself. This is called a 10-day report. And imagine you have a cell phone and there's a Title III or a state warrant, anything that they have legitimate purpose to record your calls, right? So obviously they have a warrant, and this is Ventura County Sheriff's Department. They're going up on a line. They have the target numbers. It's called 0265535. And what they do is these analysts, they're analysts, right? Very, very rarely do case agents sit in wire room. There's analysts, contractors for DEA, ATF, Sheriff's Department, whoever they are. And they listen to these calls and they document them. As a call's made, people in the wire room listen to it, and then they start typing out a 10-day report. As the call's going down, they're writing down their version, a synopsis of what is going on. So it's Danny Boy to Mosca, to Woody, to Stony, to Spider. So 4 of these people are cardinals, and the Spider mentioned is not Spider Galvadon. So Mosca is the one essentially controlled the call, and this is Mosca Torres, the one who was recently eliminated. The take of the contractors, the analysts, the communications analysts, who are listening to this call, right? They're listening to this call, and they're documenting. This is a 10-day report. So you'll see there's documentation behind this call. And these are the participants in the call itself. These are made Mexican Mafia members participating in a conference call. And just a heads up, you may notice some errors in the captions, but just be aware that it's very difficult for my editor to do this. Number one, it's hard to hear the call sometimes. Number two, he doesn't speak Spanish. And number three, we use a program to create captions for us. And it's just so difficult sometimes. So if you see these errors, just know that we're trying our best to do it.
Hey, I got my shades there.
Hey,
All right, Danny Boy.
what's going on, homeboy?
We got Stony and Woody on the line.
What's up, Danny Boy? What's going on, homie?
All right, homie.
How you doing? Estamos haciendo viajeras. We're all right, homie.
So that guy speaking right now is Danny Boy Peña from Hazard. He's talking about that guy, that situation. They're talking about the individual that was asked to do it, RB, Ralphie Boy, who was initially contacted to participate in the elimination of Donito Lopez. Here they are discussing the odd manner in which this guy calls back and wants them to actually say it verbatim. And they're tripping. Like, hey, what the hell's going on? We told him what to do. It's on him. Why is he asking us all these stupid questions? Do it, right? So let's hear them talk about that.
Mosca, what you told me about that conversation you had with that guy. What do you think about that, Holmes?
What's that?
That conversation.
What you guys had yesterday with that guy over there?
Oh man, that was way out, man. It was like, I had to tell him like 3 times, and he still wouldn't want to get the hint. Tell him like 3 times, and he still wouldn't want to get the hint.
I know. He was kind of framing that shit on.
Yeah.
It seemed like the guy was framing it from a bad movie or something, man.
Who is that? Who's you talking about, Mosca?
Hey, Mosca.
Yeah.
The way he wanted it, okay, watch out, Stony.
That's Woody speaking to Mosca, Woody Ortiz speaking to Mosca. The guy speaking prior to that was Donito. He said, what's that? That's Stony. And the guy before that was Danny Peña.
Yeah. So, we had that guy gets at a Mosca, right? And I'm on there, right?
Yeah.
And he's asking these questions, basically like, hey, like wanting us to say certain words. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but who's this?
But
it's the guy they talked to over there about tea. Remember that guy they talked to? Remember that guy Ronnie talked to about tea?
Did you hear that phrase? It's the guy they talked to about tea. The tea we're talking about here in this call is Emiliano Zapata Lopez, also known as Donito, T. This is them setting up the hit on Donito. Obviously, there are calls prior to this that weren't caught, or if they are in existence, I don't know about them and I don't have them. This is the call I do have, and this directly relates to the elimination.
Remember that guy Ronnie talked to about tea?
So Danny Boy just said Ronnie. The guy Ronnie talked to about tea. So multiple cardinals are involved in this decision. It's not independently coming from a small group. It tells me that cardinals far and wide are aware of the situation, and that multiple cardinals talking to the individual they thrust the responsibility on, and this individual's calling back and questioning the veracity of that. Look, if I was a camarada, and if you were a smart camarada, you'd do the same thing. Like, hey man, who's telling me to do? What are you telling me to do? Like, I need to hear it. I'm not just going to go supposition and take off on a cardinal. I'm not a cardinal. Even if you're asking, tell me exactly who this is coming from, who made the decision. I'm not questioning your authority, but this is a hot potato. And it was a hot potato right from that start. The camaradas that were involved in it were already jittery. Like, oh man, you know, this is big. And it was big. This is a big, big hit.
Oh, okay.
That's the guy that they put that in his lap. And the same guy calls Mosca, and you know, I thought that conversation was over and he understood already, man, what we're supposed to, you know. And then he calls Mosca yesterday, and Woody happened to be on there. And then the guy starts, you know, the conversation it got weird for his brothers. They're like, you know what, there's something it's not normal, you know. This guy was framing shit, man, you know.
Yeah.
It was almost like he wanted to admit certain phrases over the phone.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, cardinals are hyper paranoid, right? But this is something huge. This is not a small thing. I mean, the best thing on his part was he didn't get involved personally. He pushed it off on Stomper and Spider. Yeah, if I was that dude, I think his best decision was pushing it off to Stomper and Spider. That way, he's not personally responsible. He orchestrated it, and he didn't catch the blues after. He just relayed the message and the order that came from multiple Mexican Mafia members. I think he was a smart one out of all this. He's the one that came away unscathed, and the other guys fell by the wayside. They actually whacked both of the participants, the guys that actually went and eliminated Tony. They survived, but Stomper kept coming out, refusing to go into protective custody and insisting that he had only done what the Cardinals asked him to do. And you know what? It is such a brutal reality that camaradas are disposed of this way. But that is the reality. That's how the Mexican Mafia sees people, as disposable. And if this isn't a prime example of that, and if other people need more verification, then you have drank the Kool-Aid. If you don't believe the Cardinals away without a moment's hesitation, like every one of these guys that voted on this should have stood up and said, no, we asked them to do that. Nobody's going to touch them. That's what they should have done. Like righteous Cardinals would have done that. But they stepped back and said, yeah, let them go. Yeah, let's whack them. And they threw them away. They literally threw these guys away. I feel like I can't say I feel empathy because they eliminated somebody, but I feel their pain. You know, politics are politics in the organization, and that's how it is.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird, you know, like Hey, that was straight out of motherfucking Starsky and Hutch. You know what I'm saying?
In the minds of these individuals, like, we said it, we gave you the order, you agreed to do it. Why are you questioning us about it? That's why they're saying the guy wanted certain phrases. He wanted them to say straight out, eliminate him. The Mexican Mafia is telling you to eliminate him. Do it. That's what they wanted to hear. And I think that they were trying to be circumspect. Like, take him to the car show, make sure his car's clean. People aren't there to wash the car, make sure a couple of other guys are there to help wash the car. People aren't there to wash the car, make sure a couple of other guys are there to help wash the car. And that's exactly what they did, right? Spur of the moment, the guys that were supposed to do this bailed on it, and these two dudes from Monrovia took up the torch and did it right there in the yard. In fact, in one version I've heard, these individuals were not the primary guys to do the hit, right? They were on the yard, and they agreed, okay, let's go. And they did it. Worst mistake they made in their lives.
Straight out of the old, one of those old shows, one of those old
You know what? There's
drama
so much
shows.
funny shit. Hey, look, there's so much funny shit goes around. These people find out a lot of shit right away. And look, these people, I mean, although they're not bothering us, you can believe they're fucking investigating every single angle about us. Huh?
He's talking about law enforcement. He's talking about they find out all funny shit. Of course, you're talking on the damn phone. You're talking about eliminating people, distributing drugs, extorting people, Mexican Mafia business on the phone. How do you think they know? These guys are telling on themselves. And to them, they see informants and spies and all these conspiracy theories. But Danny's going to make a real point here, right? This is a real point, and I think it's poignant. It's all telling.
Not that we're not trying. It's the fucking nature of the thing, the business, huh? But the thing is that these people, and I mean, shit, sometimes that's if something don't feel right, man, you know what I mean? Shit, listen to it.
So Danny says it's not that we're not being careful, but you can't keep quiet, right? I'm paraphrasing him, right? So Danny's saying we got to talk. We have to talk. We have to communicate. And that's just the nature of the beast. And it's the truth. And that's sad in my mind because I've heard it a couple times, right? Danny has said it on a couple of occasions. Like, they're not being indiscreet. They're just doing what they do. But they have to know they're telling on them. And that's what gets me is like, oh, this guy ratted. But you're telling on everybody on the phone. You should know, number one, no talking on the phones. Ever. How many wiretaps have been dropped? How many RICO indictments have been successfully prosecuted? How many people went to prison for life based on the phones? Doesn't that tell you enough? But here they are again talking about eliminating a cardinal on a conference call with 4 Mexican Mafia members.
You know what I mean? What the inside.
Got to be real careful. You got to be real careful and look behind, the scenes right there, and see what's really happening. So I don't know what is this, the 2 T's or just 1 T?
This has to do with what's the guy's name again?
Sorry. Oh, fuck him. I'll throw it out there, shit. It's,
what's the guy's name? Yeah, yes. 2 T's, yes.
I thought, is he, what was he, slipping and sliding or what? Somebody slipping and sliding now or what?
It was just a conversation that look, we already covered the bases on this. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I thought
he was already told, certain things. We already had even I expressed certain plans. You know what I mean? Certain scenarios that were there, right?
Yeah, I heard.
So there weren't no need for no more elaboration.
Right. To go over it again.
You hear Mosca right there saying, we went over different scenarios. In other words, backup shooters. And the individual Travieso was calling back, wanting more confirmation. So they went over every scenario. I mean, every pegada's done that way. If this happens, do this. In fact, they're going to get more detailed into this. If this happens, then do this. If this happens, do this. They're going to break this down to the minutia, right? And that's what really amazed me about this call. It really amazed me that they got this detailed into camaradas eliminating a carnal, that they had to go to this depth to explain it. Because in the past, you walk up to a camarada, hey, you want to do a favor? Or the carnales wanted you to do a favor. And they say yes. So you give them the knife and point the guy out and say, there you go. And there was no questioning anything. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. It's done. And if somebody came back with questions like why, what did he do? Like, what is it to you? We're telling you to do it, either do it or don't. And that's all the response they should have got. Like, as soon as it says, hey, we need you guys to do this, that should have been it. Okay, we agree to do it, and that's it. Okay, do it. They're going to do it on a Saturday. That's what they say. This is the plan. But, Aaron, I'm going to tell you straight out. I would have never asked camaradas to do this. I've taken camaradas with me. Like, I took Little Moipen and Jaco from Azusa to eliminate a cardinal. I pulled the trigger, but they were there, and they participated. But I was there. That's the difference, right? That's the difference. I did my work. Here they're sending camaradas to do work.
He had everything. He had everything.
The contingencies, I told him, look, this is the way you do it. You do this, you block this, you hit this, you go this way.
I heard all that.
Right?
Yeah.
But the conversation yesterday was like, hey, but what if he goes this? What if he does this?
Did you hear Mosca? Did you hear Mosca? This is the way you do it. You hit this, you block this, you do. They're telling him how to actually whack him. They broke it down to this level because they wanted this to be successful. In fact, when it went down, there was a diversion. A bunch of camaradas started fighting on one part of the yard, and these two individuals took up on Donito and just rooted him. They moved away his bodyguards. In fact, during the hit itself, they hit Donito over 80 times. And during the hit, somebody adjacent to that area could hear Donito screaming and yelling, help me, get him off. So they were brutalizing him. Donito knew he was going to not see any more days on Earth when that happened. He knew he was done. He was finished. There was no way for him to escape. They had two major hitters on him, and they did it.
And it sounded like he wanted us to say certain words. You know what I mean? Like
hey. Then also I told him to use his own discretion and work it out the way he wanted to work it out because he was the one. He was the main player, you know?
Right, right.
So now he's over here, what?
Yeah.
What do you want to say, backpedaling or what?
No, well, it just sounded, it was one of those things where, man, I thought as soon as I heard which way he was going, Mosca was on there. I left Mosca there. I kept quiet.
Okay. Well, remember he told me, well, I ain't no slouch either, pa acá, pa allá. I said, what the hell?
I know. He cannot. You know, he put himself like
yesterday, Richie got at me. Yeah. And he had the other guys on there. They were saying that the other one's RB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, him on the line. Yeah.
Now we got two players. We got Travieso and we got RB. Those are the initial guys that it was handed to, and it got pushed off again to the dudes from Monrovia. But the initial guys they're talking to, they gave them the authority. In fact, when you're given a hit, it's you, and that's it. And there's no way that you're supposed to pass it up to somebody else. In fact, they should have got nailed for not doing it. That's the way it was. Like if I went to Joe Blow and said, Joe Blow, you want to do a favor? And he says, yes. I said, well, here's the thing. Go handle that business. And 2 days from now, I find out that John Smith did it and not Joe Blow. Then Joe Blow's in trouble because he's the one that it was given to. So those guys should have been eliminated. Bottom line. That's the way it used to be. There should have been no excuse other than a lockdown or something that physically prevented them from going. If they could have went, they should have went. And that's the way it should have been. I'm telling you, just from my perspective as a make carnal and the way it used to be.
Where is he from? Who is he? Where is he from?
I don't know.
You know this guy?
I don't know.
Ronnie does.
Ronnie knows them, and Richard knows them.
Hey, Carmela, un segundo. El Blanco Misali estaba con el Travieso en where? Salinas Valley back in the day.
Stony jumps in, and he just sounds like an Ocholo, right? He sounds like an Ocholo. Just listen to his conversation right now.
And Blanco had the yarda, and he was always talking about, I'm ready to do this and do that and all that type of shit. I said, well, how long has he been on the linea? How long was he on the linea?
Stoney's talking away and talking to his celly right now.
Okay, he's a DRB kickout, and did he ever do anything in Salinas Valley? He said, well, he was there at Salinas Valley, nunca hizo nada. So for all that rhetoric we were getting that night, I thought he cleaned out. He had cuerpos laying all over the place.
I thought it was going to be bad.
This is the plan right here. And maybe you brothers agree with it or not.
Yeah.
But check this out.
They experienced individuals pulling away from the actual act and trying to keep their hands clean. And it was suggested that RB, Ralphie Boy, go and take the lead. In other words, he's going to be the hitter. right? Obviously, Travieso and RB didn't do it. The dudes from Monrovia did it.
So they were suggesting that RB take the lead, and I told them, hey, bros, there's no need to get into this discussion right here because
Who's RB? Who's RB?
Ralphie boy.
Okay, where is he from?
I don't know.
Okay. Hey, all right then. Hey, there ain't. He's already.
Yeah, well, I already told him there was no need for any discussion. Everybody knows what's supposed to be, and just let it go. Let it be the way it's supposed to be.
Hey, once you commit, yes, do. There ain't no yes, do. Let them handle it, and we'll see what's going. We'll find out what's going on.
That's what we left it. When I left there with Richie, me and Richie just go, hey.
Okay.
What's going to happen is going to happen, whether they want to or not, and there's no need to discuss it at all. There's no need to discuss it at all. Richie said, okay.
Okay, that's doable. That's doable con eso as far as I'm concerned. That's it.
Yeah.
Let them handle it. We'll find out after sábado, qué está pasando, si, what can...
I could already see this kind of shit, man. Everybody is so...
There was a lot of rough game that night, and I tell you what, I said, man, this is lipstick ball culture.
Stony, these guys these guys are so timid when it comes to like our issue, right? I mean,
my phone. Huh?
No,
my phone's
I was saying that some of these guys are so timid, about when it comes to things about us, like we're involved and especially because it could concerns. They want to dot every I, and you know what I mean, and make sure the contract signed by 1,000 others,
Yeah.
That is exactly the point. That they know they're in deep. They're in deep waters. These camaradas that are asked to do this and are participating in the conspiracy, they're in the deepest water they've ever been in their life. And they want to dot their I's and cross their T's, just like Danny Boy is saying, because literally their life is in the balance here. Not just the carnal they're going to eliminate, but their future and what they call a career, right? I don't know if you can call it gang membership a career, right? But their whole career is about to come to a screeching halt. They don't even realize it, that the controversy this is going to cause within the organization. And the precedent it's going to set for all Sureños to see. Because all Sureños watch this go down. And everybody shook their heads. I get that sometimes, SMH, shaking my head. I guarantee you all Sureños were shaking their heads like, man, that was a terrible waste of two good camaradas. They did what they were asked to do, and then the clica turns around and betrays them. And they were betrayed. They weren't out there bragging about it. They weren't out there, telling war stories about it. They did what they were asked to do. And here's a part where another individual called, his name is Spider, right? And I think it may be the Spider that is ultimately involved in the hit, right? Because he's acting as a way station third, like a relay, right? He's saying that Donito is calling him, T is calling him. And I want you to note that they don't want to talk to Donito. They don't want to talk to him. They want to exclude him from this conversation, right? Just hear this, how it goes down.
I got Spider on the line right here.
Okay.
Okay, wait, Spider. No,
Stony,
this is Spider.
Spider, Stony,
Hey, what's up, Stony?
Okay, now how you doing, homie?
Aquí nomás, homie. Hey,
Todo está bien. Good.
Now, what happened?
Oh, no, boy, I got a text. I think this is from Donito, right? Yeah, Spider. And then I said, who is it? I didn't recognize the number. He said, this is Tony, homie. So, I don't know what it's about or what, so I wanted to holler at him if he is aware,
Yeah, okay, so...
Find out.
I haven't called him.
Call back, find out.
Yeah, call him back and see what's
Call
up.
back, find out. See what's going on.
Okay. All right.
Okay, shall we tell him we're on the line and call and get on? Or what?
Yeah. I think I should just call by myself and see what he has to say. No. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, do your thing, whatever you feel like. That's cool.
Okay, I'll just hear him out and see what he says.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, on.
All right,
Okay.
You'll note that they said when Stony recommended, like, hey, should we have to call and talk to us? Danny Boy says, nah. They're excluding a carnal from a junta. They're having a junta. They're in a conference call. And this is the guy they're talking about eliminating, right? What they should have done was placated them. Like, hey, brother, what's up, man? How you doing? All the brothers on the line. Everybody send you saludos. Anything we can do for you. I mean, just played it off, right? But nah. They just want to find out what he wants because Donito's texting. So I've advanced the tape to get to a part where they're talking about Donito pushing away Sleepy, right? One of the reasons that Donito got nailed too, right? He took over people's territories. He excluded Cardinals, and Sleepy has a lot of influence, right? He's the one that should have been the king of Wilmas, not Donito. Sleepy has put in a lot of work for the organization. He's a well-respected guy, currently on trial in Los Angeles County, fighting a conspiracy case, and that trial is ongoing now. But here's Danny Boy's going to start speaking about this, and then we're going to wrap this up, because you've heard everything they've said about it. They've sent camaradas to do it. The guys that are initially supposed to do it are trying to back away. And then Spider ultimately calls, and I believe this to be the Spider who was actually involved in the pegada of Donito, calls them and said, Donito sending me a text.
She's supposed to be from Donito's east side. Yeah, the east side.
So we must.
Yeah.
So I know. Look, I mean, look, I don't know what Sleepy said over it, but I know that he kind of got pushed to the side on a lot of things down there. You know.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Homeboy's about he's like about the same way. We're content with what we got. I don't know what Sleepy's doing, but he's Sleepy's with me. He tries to look out for me too, you know. And then we try to look out or we talk, but he's always saying, I'm okay, and all this stuff. But he's doing all right. But Donito's doing a lot better than
Sleepy's doing. Well, once the situation changes, then it's going to change because homeboy should have his hand a lot more better.
Okay, wait a minute. Somebody's on the phone over here. Let me check and see what it is.
So that's as clear as day. Donito's got his hands on a lot of stuff, but once it changes, Sleepy's going to have his hand on a lot of stuff. He didn't say that verbatim. I'm just drawing the natural conclusion to what that means, right? So Donito's out already. And I'm going to wrap up the call here. And I skipped over a lot of this. I'm going to put up the call in its entirety on Patreon. That way you guys can hear it with the line sheet and read what they say. But that is the blow that was struck by camaradas against the Carnal. And I think it did so much damage to the organization. I mean, really think about it. Here, they're making it an open knowledge, open source thing where we're sending camaradas to hit a Carnal because we can't wait. We don't want that. I think it was part greed, part urgency because Donito's wife was an informant. But I think the main thing was they wanted Donito's territory. Bottom line. Because Danny Boy and Sleepy are really close. Really close. And Danny Boy will support Sleepy all day long. And you hear him doing that right here. You know, Sleepy got pushed to the side. Sleepy should have his hand in more. Donito has his hand in everything. And it was kind of the same with Popeye. We heard Danny Boy in the same campaign, same kind of style with Popeye Roman, right? Years before it happened. This is right here in the now when it's happening. So you've heard the conspiracy. You've seen the results. Two camaradas sent on a mission to eliminate Donito. And this is Donito de Wilmas. Back in his heyday, at the peak of health, getting a little older, and that's Calipatria State Prison. On July 10, 2016, it went down. On July 10, 2016, it went down. They took him to the land of the unliving. They did what they were supposed to do. They kicked off a diversion. Two camaradas went in on him, and they stayed on him until he was gone. So this is Donito's body. This is after they got done with him. He passed with eyes wide open. He's seen it. He was yelling during the process. He knew he was taking his last breaths. And my condolences to his family, his friends, everybody who knew him. But it's just an unfortunate event where two guys got wrecked. The camaradas, they ruined themselves. They were actually thrown away. They did exactly what they were required to do and asked to do, and then got betrayed in the process. So I think that comment that initially came in to kick this off was so telling, right? And it was so astute. It was so astute because I even missed that. I think this is the first step in the organization losing some of its ferocity, losing some of its influence, letting people see how fallible they really are. Because this was an act of desperation. They could have waited until a Carnal reached that yard, and they could have did it themselves. That's the way it was done before. A Carnal could be on the lista for 10 years, and then finally somebody gets next to him, and boom, 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 it's done. That's the way it went. Outsiders never even knew Mexican Mafia business. Here, they're involved in the politics and the votes and the policies. They know who's on the list, who's on disregard. It's ridiculous now. And that's another indication that the Mexican Mafia is waning. Like I posed that question, all empires fall. Now, I wouldn't call the Mexican Mafia an empire. It runs prisons, it runs street gangs, right? That's not an empire. But in prison, it's an empire. Do I believe that it will fall? I believe that it will wane. As long as there's a camarada to assume the mantle of leadership, there will always be a Mexican Mafia. Somebody's always going to want to be that guy. So it'll always exist. It's been in existence around 65 years, 70 years now. It'll always exist, but I don't think it's the powerhouse that it once was. Like the AB was hugely powerful before, not so much anymore, and the BGF almost non-existent. Those two powerhouses have diminished. The AB's still around, still got members. It's still ferocious, but it's diminished. It wasn't what it once was. The BGF isn't what it once was. The NLR isn't what it once was. Some of those things just fade away, right? I think as people start realizing who they are, and what their fallibilities are, the organization will lose incremental influence. Just as I did in the past video last week when all these gangs that have challenged the organization and have eliminated members and balked the system and refused to pay taxes. Even Maravilla today refuses to pay taxes. And they're still part of the fold because of one cardinal, Chato from Mariana. That's it for today, folks. Humdinger for Monday. Peace out.